first it was my brother. I don't know why, right? I never cared to even look into it or whatever have you, even after years of therapy. But, he would molest me. With my uncle, it happened from the age of about 8 years old to about the age of maybe 10. From 1982 to 1985, I totally lost it. Like, I got deeper in my addiction. I started shooting up then, It was so bad. I was in the apartment, I was getting high, and the drug dealer was telling me he had me in there sort of like hostage, and he was telling me that he thought that I had either stole something, some drugs or something like that, and that I had given it to the other drug dealers, right? And that didn't happen. I mean, I could say today with all honesty that if it did happen, I would have said it, right? But that's not what happened. And I was like, holy shit. I felt like I was getting set up and they needed somebody to set up. I remember them screaming outside in the hallway for him to come out, right? And he says to me, you go out. I was like, pero ¿por qué yo? No, abre la puerta, porque yo sé que... And I was like, oh my God. He wanted me to open the door and they were gonna use me as a bullet, like a vest. So if I open the door and they're out in the hallway, they're gonna shoot and they're gonna shoot. And I'm like, oh my God, these guys are gonna shoot and I'm gonna be right in the middle of that. I prayed, and when I put my hand on the doorknob, that I turned that doorknob like this, I was praying inside and I was saying, oh God, please, if you get me out of this one, I won't get high again. This is the thought, this is the prayer, right? And as I opened it, when I opened them, I braced myself for the gunshot behind or the front, but it didn't happen. So when it didn't happen, I said, oh, okay, I'm still alive, right? I didn't go up the stairs. He slams the door behind me, and I was like, I came out to the courtyard, and they weren't there, and I was like, oh my God, they're not here. Guess where I went to? Rather than to go, I go to the other drug dealers across the street in the other building, right? It's freaking insane it's just insane. I went across the street to where they were at. So I'm trying to explain to them, listen, I ain't got nothing to do with it. As soon as I got there, that man grabbed me by my neck and puts a gun into my mouth. And he says, you told me the truth, well, I'm gonna shoot you. And at that point, I was like, fuck it, end this shit because I'm tired. I'm just done. I don't know what else to do. That was a part of me. There was a little snippet somewhere in my heart that was like, oh God, please get me out of this shit, because I really don't want to die like this, right? And at that moment, my biological mother walks in. This woman walks in, she's never done a thing for me. She goes, mira, ¿qué tú estás haciendo con mi hija? And she grabbed him, and he's looking at her like, really? Like this lady's coming out of nowhere, like she has the heart to do that? ¿Qué tú estás haciendo con mi hija? And she grabbed me by my neck and she's pushing me and she's banging the head, she's hitting me out the building. And he's like telling her, tell her not to come back over here because you know what? You're gonna be less than a daughter. Da, 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 da. And my mother's hitting me and walking me out. And then when we get to the other building, she's like, mira, cantillo la gran puta, tú me vas a matar a mí, tú no sabes, pa, 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 pa. Like she was scared too, but she did it, she was able to take me out of that situation. I'll never forget that because I never thought that my mother loved me, my biological mother. You making me emotional. For me, that was her way of saying, you're my daughter and I love you. My mother tells me, tomorrow you're gonna go to Promesa, that's the program. Prepárate que you're gonna go to Promesa, go upstairs and that kind of thing. I went upstairs, but I went upstairs to get high, I was still getting high. So even though I had made the promise, I'm not gonna get high or whatever have you, I was still getting high. And morning came and she took me to the program. She took me to Promesa. And when she took me there, I didn't know anything about drug programs. I don't know how she found out about this place. It was on 176 and Clay Avenue in the Bronx. And she left me there. So here's the thing, when I learned about addiction, and I learned the disease concept of addiction, I realized that it wasn't my fault. But for a very long time, it was the only thing that I had to medicate. You know what I mean? So I know there's a lot of people out there right now that have stories like mine or similar or worse, and they're just looking to medicate. Who wants to feel that pain? What is addiction? What is recovery? What is treatment? And what's the after effect of that? What happens after? You know, what's the spectrum? Education is key. I always say it. Maybe that's why I got into education myself. Educating folks, making them counselors, good counselors.